favorite monster, immortal or outsider? Now, I'm not exactly sure what immortal means. Mostly coming from 3rd edition, there was no monster type called immortal. There are definitely outsiders, and considering outsider, I'm guessing immortal is similar. The interesting thing with immortal is I already mentioned in a previous video about basic D&D. And basic D&D covered levels 1, 2, and 3, and that was it. And then they released Expert D&D, and Expert was an expansion set. It's important to realize that basic D&D and advanced Dungeons & Dragons existed at the same time. So you had Basic. Basic came out first, then Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and then Expert came out. And Expert increased the basic rules from level 3. Now you could be level 4 to 14, I think, is what the level range was. And most people who like the basic version of D&D play what's called BX, or Basic Expert. And because that's a very large level range, 1st to 14th level, that's a pretty long time. And the basic rules and expert rules were very similar. They meshed together very well. But that didn't stop there. They also released the companion rules, which took you from 15th level to 20-something. And then there were the master rules, which took you up to, I want to say they took you up to 25th level. Or maybe it was 25 to 30, and the other one was 15 to 24. I don't know. It was somewhere in there. But then the last set of rules they released were called the Immortal rules. And those were like epic level, becoming a demigod kind of adventure setup. It was a completely different set of rules compared to the previous portions of that. Basic and Expert fit together really well. Companion and then into Master were definitely a transition away from BX and don't quite fit together as well with Basic and Expert. And then Immortal just is completely off the deep end. However, you can play what they call Basic, Expert, Companion, Master, Immortal, or BECMI, BECMI. Also known as the Rules Cyclopedia version, because they released the rules again as a cyclopedia. Anyway, that's getting off topic. I said yesterday that this was going to be a very easy answer, and it is. This is the only one. I will have one caveat, but it's very easy. My favorite Immortal/Outsider is Demogorgon, without question. Way back in old D&D, you have the the 3 brown booklets. Then you had the supplements: Greyhawk, Blackmoor, Eldritch Wizardry, and Deities, Demigods, and Heroes. In Eldritch Wizardry, the 3rd book, Demogorgon appears in there. And that was the first time he ever appeared in D&D. The name Demogorgon comes from early, like, 300-something AD writings, where it just kind of suddenly appeared out of nowhere. And it was mentioned in, like, Milton's Paradise Lost, and it has a bit of a history of being, on one hand, like a demon through most of the Middle Ages, and then as you get into the more recent 15, 16, 1700s, he's alternately a demon and also like the prince of fairies and all kinds of weird stuff. But D&D said, nah, this guy is a total demon. If you've never seen Demogorgon before, go ahead and just do a Google image search for Demogorgon or Demogorgon D&D, and you will see a creature with 2 mandrill heads. They're not baboons. 2 mandrill heads, 2 long tentacles for arms, kind of like lizard legs, and a forked tail. If you manage to get the illustration from the 3rd edition Book of Vile Darkness, it's going to have hyena heads. And Monty Cook, who wrote the Book of Vile Darkness, wanted to try and break with tradition a bit when he created it, and it did not work. Everybody's like, dude, he's supposed to have baboon heads. Well, he's not supposed to have baboon heads. He's supposed to have mandrill heads. They're very similar, but they're not. Why did I like him? So back in the very first time I saw Demogorgon was in the first edition AD&D Monster Manual. There was the whole section on the demon princes and the dukes of hell, the devils, and like Asmodeus was cool, but the demon princes are where it's at. You have like Jubilex and Orcus and Demogorgon. And Orcus is usually listed amongst the #1 favorites for a lot of D&D players, like old school guys. But see, Orcus is the demon prince of undead. He's got like a ram's head and a goat's hind quarters, and well, he's got like goat legs and like big beefy pot belly with like not really gorilla arms, but like really big muscular arms, and then like a ram's head or a pig's head with horns. But his big thing is he's got a ruby-tipped wand. And it's like a black wand, and at the top there's a giant ruby in the shape of a skull. And if he touches you with that wand, with the ruby tip of that wand, you die. That's it. End of story. You're dead. You just instantly die. And that's scary. But what's even scarier is Demogorgon. Because if Demogorgon touches you with his tentacle arms, you rot away. Not quickly, well, actually pretty quickly, but not instantaneously like Orcus's wand. So if Demogorgon touches you, you just get to watch yourself over the next couple seconds rot and fall apart as you die. That is horror. That is scary. That is fear. Demogorgon has 2 heads, and here's a quick spoiler, so if you don't want to hear this. In 3rd edition, the same adventure path that started with the Sunless Citadel and Forge of Fury, which I really loved, ended with an adventure called Bastion of Broken Souls. All through the adventure path, you meet you're introduced to information about the evil dragon known as Ashardalon in the first adventure, the Sunless Citadel. Or at least you can be introduced to them. There's a secret door hiding that area. And in the very last one, you actually get to meet Ashardalon. And you're actually manipulated into finding and fighting Ashardalon by Demogorgon. But not just Demogorgon. You see, Demogorgon has 2 heads. His left head is called Ameul, and his right head is called Hethridiah. And they hate each other with a passion. From my understanding, or at least maybe I made this up myself, Ameul, the left head, Demogorgon has 2 gaze attacks. Well, actually 3 gaze attacks. The left head, when it looks at you, makes you go insane. The right head, when it looks at you, charms you. And if both heads look at you at the same time, they hypnotize you and basically dominate you and control your actions. And in my estimation, they always talk about how Demogorgon's 2 heads hate each other and war against each other. One seeks to divide them, and one seeks to unite them. And so for me, the insane guy, the left head, Ameul, he wants to divide the 2. His seeks to kill off or somehow incapacitate the right head, Hethridiah. On the other hand, Hethridiah seeks to unify the 2 of them together, and in doing so, subject Ameul to himself. So make Ameul's personality, his consciousness, subservient and wholly under his control. Both of those are a chaotic, evil kind of dealio. The Bastion of Broken Souls is the first time where they really put any detail behind that, or at least the first time I encountered the detail behind Demogorgon's warring heads. And I absolutely loved it. And Demogorgon was already my favorite demon prince, and now was even more so. He's in control of the 88th layer of the Abyss, which is sometimes called the Gaping Maw, sometimes called the Brine Flats. And he is also, in addition to being known as Prince of Demons, a title he gave himself, and nobody's been strong enough to take it away from him yet. He is also known as Lord of Those That Lurk Beneath. Possibly Beneath the Waves? I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly. But he's in charge of, because of his lizard scales and lizard feet and what have you, he has dominion over reptiles and fish and octopi and things like that. He's also, apparently, the Ixixashittl's main guy. They worship him, they serve him. There's just tons of them on his layer of the abyss. And so that's one of the reasons why they are high up in my list of aberrations. Because they follow him. I love Demogorgon. He is awesome. Now, if I had to choose... Now, this is where I get to the caveat part. If I had to choose an outsider that wasn't a unique creature, semi-deific creature, because one of the books actually details Demogorgon as a god for evil clerics. If you had to choose just like a run-of-the-mill outsider, I think my favorite outsider is probably a Merilith. No... Maybe Succubus. Or Nalfeshni. No, Nalfeshnis are the boar-headed, gorilla-armed, goat-legged dudes. Vrox. Vrox are cool. They're the vulture demons that can dance and cause death. And they also release spores. There's too many cool demons. And because of the hullabaloo, they used to be, back in 1st edition, demons had names. So there were different types of demons. There was the Hezro, there was the Nalfeshni, there was the Succubus, there was the Balor, there was the Vrock. And then when 2nd edition came out, first of all, demons and devils were renamed to the Tanari and the... Oh my gosh, what... Baal something. I forget what they renamed devils to. It started with B. Anyway, that was stupid. And then I think... No, it was still in 1st edition. Your demons had names, but they also had types. So like a type 4 demon, if I'm remembering correctly, a type 4 demon was a Nalfeshni. A type 5 demon was a Merilith. A type 6 demon was a Balor. A type 3 demon was a Vrock. A type 2 was a Hezro. And a type 1 was a Dretch. If I remember correctly. This is all off the top of my head. And I think of them... I want to say Succubus. Even though she wasn't one of the typed demons, there's so much you can do with a Succubus. And I remember way back when in a Dragon magazine, or it was a Dungeon magazine. No, Dungeon only had adventures at the time, so it was in a Dragon magazine. There was an article about... running adventures and being a DM and being like tricksy with stuff. And they had... the guy who wrote it was telling the story about how his adventurers had found a chest down in the dungeon. This was back in 2nd edition. And when they opened the chest, there was like a little girl inside, but she was like a little genie girl. And so they thought that they had a genie with them, and she followed the party around and sometimes helped them out and sometimes did stupid things that got the party in trouble or in danger. And the entire time this was going on, the little girl was actually a succubus in disguise. And I actually can't remember the point of the article. I just totally remember the illustration of the little genie-looking girl standing up out of a chest. But that was one of the earliest articles that kind of opened me up to using a monster in a different way. Rather than having the monster just come out and attack the party, have them follow along and trick the party and totally keep people under control in a more subtle manner rather than just outright using spells and what have you. So I really like that. But definitely my favorite outsider is Demogorgon. Asmodeus is kind of cool. Dagon is kind of cool. Orcus is kind of cool. Jubilex is awesome. But that's it. I really hope I'm saying Jubilex is the right name for that guy. The demon prince of oozes, who disappeared for a while and then came back. I don't know why he disappeared. He was awesome. But anyway, until next time, bye-bye.